And now it's time to take a look at all of the other Pokemon that receive buffs in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So in the 4th generation, pretty much just Wormadam. The 5th and 6th generations receive buff Pokemon as well. So might as well just do this all in the last video, talking about the Sun and Moon buffed Pokemon. So Beartic gets a new ability called Slush Rush. Not only is it the most fun ability to say out loud, but also it doubles speed in Hail, much how Sand Rush doubles speed in Sandstorm. And that's not it. Like, if Beartic just got that, we would see it works out for the abilities really well, that it has no secondary ability, and the hidden ability on Beartic is Swift Swim. So now, Beartic works in Rain and Hail, and I think Hail is going to work out better because it is an Ice-type Pokemon, so it can utilize Stab. It can also work in those Hail teams and whatnot, so that could be pretty cool for the Beartic, but it also gains plus 20 to its attack stats, so 110 attack, already pretty solid on the Beartic, and now it's going to go even better with the 130, and then you Life Orb, Slush Rush, Shenanigans. Oh, that is so fun to say out loud. You can actually do really well. Now, the 50 speed, not the best, but as you can see right here, we can still go for an Adamant Nature and find some really healthy outspeeds with a high speed under Hail, and then we just get tons of damage. Like, it's going to be more than that 350. We can go for everything right there, and also we get that Icicle Crash, so a lot of speed, a lot of damage, just some really good stuff coming out of the Beartic. You can also use Aqua Jet if you need that priority, add some other coverage. Beartic gets even better right now, so there will be some usage involved, especially because like Hail gets some buffs. Overall, it's looking pretty good. Next up, we have Crustle. Crustle receiving plus 10 to its attack, and you know what? That's alright. That's actually not that bad, because plus 10 on the attack means Shell Smash is going to work out even better. Like, you can't give any more. If you gave any more to Crustle, that's when things start getting scary, but it does have really high defenses and then kind of low on that speed, so even after doubling your speed, not as healthy, not as good looking as the Beartic, but that does like kind of make up that now that you have that plus 10 to attack, you can run Jolly and then not lose any damage over the Adamant while finding more speed. So Crustle is going to turn that plus 10 into a lot more as things get doubled and whatnot. Then you just have Rock and Bug coverage. Unfortunately, Crustle did not get like the ultimate of all buffs, does not get Leech Life in the 7th generation, even though it is a TM now. I mean, we still have good coverage overall, and it's just going to work out really well for the Crustle, so might actually see it Shell Smash and do some crazy stuff. Gigalith goes from having Sturdy and Sand Force to getting Sand Rush as a second ability, so much how Beartic and all that. Gigalith now adding to this. So Sand Rush, I don't think is going to help out too much. 25 base speed, just a little too slow to save. Also, I do like what it does anyways, like Sturdy Custap into Explosion Shenanigans or just a really beefy hit. Works well for the Gigalith. So at least it just kind of shows Gigalith getting a little bit of love and attention, but not really getting too much on top of that. However, Cryogonal, this is a buff right here. Cryogonal looking pretty good. Plus 10 to the hit points, plus 20 to the defense, so at least not going to get one shot by every neutral physical attack out there, and it still has a really high special defense, and that special defense goes up even more. So Cryogonal will go do pretty well, still has that recover too, so now we have a reliable special defense tank, and it seems like Pokemon or Game Freak is making up for that. That Mantine has Roost as a huge special defense tank, and Cryogonal now going to get just a little more hit points, so a little more special defensive tankiness, and it still does all kinds of weird things. Still has Sheer Cold, still has a good amount of speed, so this is going to be a really interesting Pokemon to see if this little bit of a buff does help it out in some situations. Now, Vanillux, again, another Pokemon that just has 2 abilities, including its hidden ability. Vanillux is going to grab Snow Warning as an ability. Finally, we see more and more Pokemon getting a hold of the Snow Warning. Even though Vanillux isn't the best, I think it's better than Abomasnow and better than Aurorus when it comes to that, because Aurorus just goes down to steel types too easily. Abomasnow is still pretty weak to fire and has a lot of weaknesses as well. So Vanillux, it's not going to have to worry about as many things hurting it, and it still can clean up pretty well. What I like about it is that you can just like Scarf Sheer Cold, and it doesn't matter after that because you just come in and you set up the Snow Warning. So more options for setting up Hail, gets you to combo into Beartic or other Pokemon that want to be under Hail. And remember, it does make Blizzard have perfect accuracy as well, so that's a lot of strength in double battles if you are going to be pressuring a Sheer Cold KO or something like that. Or at least Vanillux can then Scarf Blizzard with a 110 special special attack. That is still pretty powerful as well instead of running Ice Body or Weak Armor. It really wasn't getting much out of those abilities anyway. Now it supports its team, and it can also support itself on higher damage moves. So this is really interesting. I think a lot of people have been wanting to see more of that Snow Warning, something to actually make Hail viable. So this could be a good way of doing that. And then Crocodile, while not getting a stat or an ability buff, does get a new move called Power Trip. So Power Trip, think of it like a stored power but physical dark. And Crocodile makes good use of that because it has Moxie and Anger Point. Now, Moxie I don't think is going to work out as well because generally on the Crocodile you want to like Scarf Earthquake or something like that, then start a speed and damage snowball. But with the Anger Point, if this Pokemon gets hit by a critical hit, it goes to max +6 on the attack. And now that's where things get scary because then you get a Stab Power Trip that's going to be destroying everything. The only problem I see there is that you might be giving up on the Scarf depending on how you play it, or you are going to be using this in doubles, that you're going to be doing some kind of crit strategy in doubles that we've seen to trigger Anger Point before, but now you're not using Earthquake to kind of clear the field. So Power Trip is going to be a bit more niche than that, but it is a move option that only Pangoro, Crocodile, and Primeape get access to, so maybe there'll be some play around it, and there still is like that opportunity off of the Anger Point to just kind of turn it around. Maybe you might just tech it in there that, okay, you eat a random critical hit, now you're holding on to Power Trip, so everything is going to die at that point. But then that's the problem with like Anger Point, you're already at +6, you have 4 times your attack, so do you really need the Power Trip, or do you just throw out a Stab Earthquake and then clean the field no matter what? So technically a buff, but I'm going to see how it plays out. I like the idea. I don't know if it's going to apply as well as people think it will. And then we have Wormadam. So pretty much what Wormadam grabs is the Quiver Dance. So Quiver Dance is going to boost its speed, special attack, and special defense. Now, I'm also still wondering how this is going to work out because Wormadam is not a fast Pokemon. That maybe if it got a speed buff up into like the 60s, then you could like Quiver Dance, maybe Sweep, maybe not get outsped by everything, but pretty much it's just going to be a tanky option on the Wormadam, and I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. Now, as for the grass form, already has high special defense, so I think we're going to be more looking at the Sandy Cloak and also the Trash Cloak because we have solid defenses to make use of. So we max out hit points, max out defense, go for that Quiver Dance, but then we still need a lot of Quiver Dancing to actually get something out of it. Like, I like the idea of Quiver Dance, but we don't have a good base speed or special attack. Even after 2 Quiver Dances, well, we've already spent so much time setting up, we're still fairly slow. And then a big problem that we get into with the Wormadam is that its movesets don't really make a lot of sense, and then most of its power comes from move tutors, but we already know that move tutors are not going to be in the 7th generation, so Giga Drain, Synthesis, you know, those are things that the Plant Cloak really wants. It wants to find that sustain while using Quiver Dance. However, it does have a higher special defense already, so the synergy is just not there, even though Quiver Dance is such an amazing move. Sandy Cloak doesn't have sustain, Trash Cloak doesn't get to do much with it. It does have the Iron Defense, so I mean, Iron Defense Quiver Dance, that's a tanky core, but then you have to like Chesto Resto to get the most tankiness out of it, and then you only get one offensive move that might be okay because it's special, but you're boosting your special and stuff like that. So I don't really know what is going on with the Wormadam right here. And we can see your other damage options, not like the most insane combo-y stuff around. So while I think it's awesome, I don't think it's going to be the best thing. And then we look at Volcarona. Volcarona is just going to be a better Quiver Dance Pokemon, better overall stats, roughly the same tankiness. I mean, 85 base hit points compared to the 60, and then you also have the 85 on the defense. So there's that, and yeah, like Volcarona is just going to get more damage and have higher output and then be scarier on the speed and more snowbally, and it can do all kinds of things. So while Quiver Dance is one of the strongest moves in the entire game, it doesn't seem like it's enough to stay in Wormadam. And then we have a minor buff to Stoutland, mostly just expanding upon its moveset, that it is a Pokemon that get access to these Psychic Fangs, so could break Light Screen Reflect with a decent base power Fang move. That's kind of it for the Stoutland. I feel a lot of this Pokemon's power comes off of Last Resort sets anyways, but moveset and coverage expansion works out for the Stoutland, at least in a small amount. And now we can also go and check out some of the other things that have been changed around. So Ally Switch, getting a buff to +2 priority from +1. This is going to help out Pokemon like Cofagrigus and those other 5th generation Pokemon that do have access to the Ally Switch. Flying Press is a big one. Base power +20, so now a 100 base power. That is only going to be a Hawlucha buff in every single way, because what are your options? You can either go with something like the Acrobatics if you are trying to proc into your Unburden, but now if you're running Flying Press, it's like having a 100 base power fighting and flying move, so you're not super reliant on the high jump kick, but you're also not kind of going with the other weird moves. You know, people are running Drain Punch, Low Kick. That's just not going to be as effective as that 100 base power stabness that you are getting out of the Hawlucha. So yeah, now people might run this signature move, which was supposed to be like this crazy cool signature move, dual typing moves, oh my goodness, and then it just kind of didn't work out that way. So the buff is pretty awesome right there. Then we also get to see Parabolic Charge and Mystical Fire getting some buffs, so that's going to be a buff to the Delphox on that Mystical Fire. Goes up to 75 base power, and even though it lowers your opponent's special attack, now it's just going to be doing more damage, so that's a better snowball right there. And Parabolic Charge, this is honestly a big one, because we've already seen Heliolisk can do some really fun stuff, but 50 base power while hitting everything showed to not be that fantastic, and for an exclusive move, you know, it feels like the Heliolisk should have done more with it. And we already saw on a recent Fan Fridays that Heliolisk can tear it up with the right strategy, so that means everything we saw in this battle right here is going to be buffed by about 30%. So now you can invest more into the Heliolisk and then get more in return, and then you combo it with the Sceptile Lightning Rods, and then it can go for all kinds of fun stuff, and then Heliolisk gets damage and sweeps. So that's a pretty nice buff overall right there, and I just want to kind of show, you know, here's some ally swap Pokemon. So this also including Arcan, Elgyem, Beheeyem, Mindfu, Hawlucha. The Guts ability is also going to be a big one, because Conkeldurr now getting a buff because of that Guts ability. That's just one of the things. What happened is Burn, as we can see right here, Burn has been reduced to 1/16th instead of 1/8 damage at the end of the turn, which means Conkeldurr, already a fairly tanky Pokemon. Like, it has a really high health pool, and that's one of the things that makes it strong. It's very slow, but it's a bulky Pokemon, so now it's taking less at the end of every turn from the Guts, and that means it is only going to benefit in every single way. Same for the Luxray, that if you are running Guts Luxray, little less to worry about, so a buff overall. And then we also have the Fell Stinger. So Fell Stinger has an undocumented buff on these like pace spins and stuff, but it does go from 30 base power to 50 in the 7th generation. So that means Pokemon like Leavanny, Escavalier, Drapion, Genesect, Cacnea, Surskit, all these Pokemon right here are going to be receiving a buff to that. Just a higher range of KOs to go for that double snowball right there into the boosted attack. And I think that is going to be it for almost all the buffs in Pokemon Sun and Moon. We might find a couple more as the game gets fully cracked open, data mined, and everyone gets their hands on it, and then we get like official publications. But right now, a lot of buffs overall. I think it's going to be pretty big for pretty much every Pokemon involved on the buffs except for Wormadam, but a few others. I mean, no matter how you look at it, getting new moves, getting new stats, it's going to increase their usage. Even by a small amount, it means the Pokemon now can excel in more areas, has a little bit more safety, reliability, or something like that. That's going to be pretty awesome to see right there. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.